Yo, yo, YouTube. Get your shit together, fam. Get it together, YouTube. We here live in the no cap zone where we have a strict dress code. Not get off with that capping nonsense. Oh my god. What is going on with this bullshit? Holy fuck. Shit is pissing me off. God damn. We good? We good, YouTube? What the fuck? Jesus Christ, I can't stand this shit. Anywho, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, what's good? It's your boy, the Ultimate Rage, coming back with yet another YouTube Live. Here in the no cap zone, where we have a strict dress code. Knock it off with that capping ass nonsense, especially you, YouTube. Just work. Just work. Stop trying to sabotage your boy. Dealt with enough with TikTok. The last thing I need is you fucking with me now. Anywho, let's just get on with it. Look, so I had to do something a little different today. Talk about a topic that is hot on the NBA news. I'm not sure if many of you are aware, but famous former Chicago Bull Derrick Rose has officially announced his retirement from the NBA. After 16 long seasons, the youngest MVP in NBA history. Okay, we're talking about somebody who was a 3-time All-Star, was a 1-time NBA first team, All-Rookie first team, went as far as the Eastern Conference Finals. Great player, beloved by my home city of the Chi-Town, South Side. What's good? You know what time it is? He has finally announced his retirement. Why does this matter? Why does this matter? And what does this have to do with what I usually talk about? Well, let me explain it to you. As many of you may know, Derrick Rose, despite having played 16 seasons, he didn't play 16 seasons. Let me take that back. He did not play 16 seasons because his entire career, ever since 2011, or should I say 2012, let me be clear. In 2012, he suffered his ACL injury, which would completely derail his entire career after that. And since that injury, Derrick Rose has suffered numerous injuries all throughout the rest of his years, even this last year with the Memphis Grizzlies. Derrick Rose had the potential of being one of the greatest players ever, one of the greatest point guards ever, super athletic, fast, shifty, freaking could contort his body in ways that the NBA hadn't seen really at all ever before. And yet, his career was derailed by injury after injury after injury after injury after injury. The year after he tore his ACL, missed the whole season. In fact, let's go back. When Derrick Rose tore his ACL during the NBA playoffs in 2012, we were the 1 seed in the East. After Derrick Rose went down, the Bulls were one of the few teams that was a 1 seed that lost to an 8 seed. The Bulls simply could not recover. And ever since then, Derrick Rose could not return to his great self. He was never the same after that. The following year, he was cleared to play, didn't come back. The following year, before the season even started. Suffered an injury as a result of getting an elbow from his teammate Taj Gibson during the freaking training camp. So he had to start off the year with a mask on. And so, the best thing he was able to do was the following year, 2015. 2015, he and the Bulls made it to the second round against LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Derrick Rose had one of his finest moments where he got the game winner, and I do believe game 2, game 3, I forget. Only for LeBron to come back and get a game winner against us, and then we lost the series. After that, I don't think Derrick Rose ever made it back to the playoffs. Wait, no. Actually, I take that back. He was traded to the New York Knicks. They did have one playoff run where Derrick Rose was actually the best player on the team. And then I forget who they lost to. I want to say the Hawks, don't quote me. Look. Long story short, Derrick Rose never got to achieve his full potential as a result of injuries. Injury after injury after injury after injury after injury. Not to mention the scandals that got him traded from the Bulls to the Knicks. You know, he had this scandal. You can look it up. But he was accused of doing something that he shouldn't have done. Turned out he was not charged, but it harmed his reputation. The fact of the matter is that Derrick Rose was never able to achieve his full potential as a result of injuries. And we've seen this happen throughout sports, particularly in the NBA. We've seen so many players that have gotten hyped up, touted as being, oh, he's going to be the next this or the next that, the next Michael Jordan, the next Kobe Bryant, the next Shaq, or whatever the case may be. And we've seen so many players have their entire careers derailed as a result of just being unable to escape injury. Just the most unlucky circumstances that could possibly happen. To the point where players that were great players, skills, athleticism, all that, never got to achieve their full potential. Thank you. The reason why this is important is because we all love sports. Well, no, let me take that back. There's some of us who don't. But many of us love sports. We like watching sports. We are fascinated by the things that the human body is able to accomplish. That people can push their bodies to the limit to achieve things that we didn't even know were possible. And that's one of the things about basketball that we like in particular. The fact that people can run fast, jump high, they can slam the ball so hard, and do all these things with the human body that most of us could only dream of accomplishing. Okay? Pushing the human body to its limit. The only problem is our bodies have limitations as a result of the laws of physics, bone density, all these different things that go into what it takes to be an athlete. And the sad part about it is that people can push and push and push and push themselves super duper hard. And their bodies can break down as a result to the point where they don't achieve their full potential. However, here's the thing. There were injuries from years ago that could end somebody's entire career that nowadays, as a result of modern medicine, modern techniques, new discoveries, new surgical procedures, that injuries that used to end people's careers are now not as devastating anymore. As an example, Derrick Rose, like I just said, suffered an ACL tear, and he was never the same after that. But then you have somebody like, say, a Zach LaVine, also a current Chicago Bull, who suffered an ACL tear, who came back and was bouncier than he was before he tore his ACL. In fact, the dude won 2 slam dunk contests. Basically, injuries that used to be super devastating, an ACL tear used to be a career-ending injury decades ago. Now people are coming back from them. The same thing is true with an Achilles tear. An Achilles tear used to be the most it is the most devastating injury, even still. But we've seen players return from Achilles tears these days. Kevin Durant suffered an Achilles tear in the finals during his last year with the Warriors, playing against the Toronto Raptors in 2019. He had injured his calf, took some time off during the Rockets series, came back against the Raptors, played for 10 minutes, if that, launching, killing, and all of a sudden, tore his Achilles and was out the entire next season. But now, he was able to recover, and even though he has suffered injuries since then, he's back to himself, to the point where we just saw him become an Olympic gold medalist, playing fucking solid. These are things that are a result of modern medicine helping athletes to recover from potentially career-ending devastating injuries. Even right now. Once again, going back to my Chicago Bulls. Our formerly starting point guard, Lonzo Ball, suffered a meniscus tear that was supposed to have him out for 4 to 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. Unfortunately, it's been 2.5 years, and he's been out. In fact, he had to get a whole new meniscus donated from somebody in order to even try to come back. A state-of-the-art surgery. And yet, he's gearing up to return. We've seen so many players who were never able to come back. Notably, somebody like Brandon Roy, whose meniscus deteriorated to the point where he was playing bone on bone. The pain was excruciating to the point he could not play anymore. Career ended super early. He was pretty much like Damian Lillard before Damian Lillard for the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, here's the thing. The reason why I titled the video, the live, as I did is because, for one, I know that Derrick Rose is a Christian. Obviously, 60% of America is Christian. And people love to say things like, oh, Jesus, Lord Jesus, the Lord is blessing Derrick Rose, and now blah, blah, blah. Even his video that he posted announcing his retirement was a message from his mom telling him that God has a new plan for him. God has a new plan for him. So the question is, why did God plan for him to have his career completely derailed by injuries? Why would the Lord, if it was real, not allow Derrick Rose to return to himself and bounce back from the injury? Or why would the Lord give him this injury in the first place? It was a non-contact injury. It's not like he hit somebody's knee. It's not like he freaking landed freaking awkwardly. He was playing like he usually does, getting ready to jump and do a layup, and then his knee just buckled. How come he was never able to bounce back from that ACL injury? I remember, I do believe it was in 2015. I can't remember exactly. I remember that he tore his meniscus, and I remember being in the car listening to the radio when the radio personalities were talking about it. Everybody's like, oh my God, pray for Derrick Rose. Oh, he just suffered the meniscus tear. Pray for Derrick Rose. This is so terrible. It's so horrible. He tore his meniscus. Oh my God, I can't believe this is after the ACL injury. People thought it was over for D Rose. They acted like this was the end of his career. Fortunately, he was able to bounce back. But the point is, ever since these injuries started hitting him, he hasn't been able to play a whole season. Every year, injury after injury after injury after injury after injury. Injury prone, as they call it. And we've seen this happen to so many athletes. So many athletes who came in with great potential. They looked like they were going to be the next thing. I mean, we could rattle the names off. You know, people like Tracy McGrady. People like Blake Griffin. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, Brandon Roy. I mean, the list just goes on and on. Athletes that had amazing talent, amazing skills, that just always kept getting hit by injuries. Players that when we see them play when they're healthy, it's like, oh my God, this guy is amazing. This person has such unbelievable talent, but they never get to fully realize it because their careers keep getting sabotaged by injury after injury after injury. It makes it seem, in many cases, like some people are cursed or some teams are cursed. When you look at the LA Clippers, we have seen year after year after year after year after year, for decades, literal decades, great athletes go to the LA Clippers, and then for some reason, they just can't get it together. They can't. Injuries after injury after injury. I mean, it's literally absurd. Going all the way back to somebody like Bill Walton. Bill Walton won a championship with the Trailblazers, goes to the Clippers, and just gets injured all the time. Could have been the greatest big man of all time, or at least one of them. Rarely gets talked about because his entire career was sabotaged by injuries. It wasn't until he ended up going to the Boston Celtics, playing a six-man role, that he was able to recapture some of the glory. But he was never able to get back to his top elite athletic self. The fact of the matter is, there are so many factors that go into athletes being able to manifest their abilities and reach their full potential. That's one of the reasons why people look at LeBron James like a fucking genetic freak, a marvel. Because this dude is still playing. And not just still playing, but playing at an absurdly high level. The dude is still one of the best players in the NBA after what, 22 years? Most people's careers don't even last that long. And if they do, by the time they reach this point, they're a complete shell of their former selves. Yet LeBron James is still arguably in the top 10 best players today. Dude has amazing genetics. But he also has an insanely crazy work ethic. But I mean, he's not the only person who has a great work ethic. All these athletes have great work ethics. That's how they were even able to make it in the first place. You can't just wake up and become an NBA player. You have to literally be the cream of the crop, and you have to work super duper hard. Countless competition. So many people vying to become an NBA player. Just to get there, let alone to become one of the elite of the elites, to become an all-NBA, to become a freaking all-star. It takes so much work, dedication, passion, skill development. But even with all of that, all it takes is a freak injury to potentially ruin it all. You don't have to be somebody who is lazy or doesn't work hard or anything like that. We've seen so many people pushing super hard, but yet, despite that, their bodies just give out on them. And it's just so devastating to see people who have dreams, who have these, aspirations, who have the ability. They have the ability. The ability isn't the problem. It's just the physicality. It's their own bone structure and just the freakishness of the laws of physics that make it so that some athletes just can't achieve their potential. And it's the saddest thing in the fucking world. Because it's one thing, when you see somebody out in the street who's pretty good at basketball, you might think, what could have been? But when you see people in the NBA being great, someone like Derrick Rose, like I said, to this day, the youngest MVP ever. And yet, there's still questions about whether or not he's even going to be in the Hall of Fame. There has never been an MVP that hasn't been in the Hall of Fame. But there's questions about Derrick Rose because he wasn't able to achieve his potential. He like I say, one All-NBA. You know what I'm saying? Like, freaking didn't have a long career playing great. You feel me? Because he got so many injuries. So even though he has a 16-year career, he didn't play all those 16 years. And he didn't play a majority of those games. And it gets to a point where even though he probably technically could still play, if you've never been injured, then you would not know how ridiculous it is, how frustrating it is, how mentally devastating it could be to keep suffering these injuries. Just to suffer an injury really sucks. Particularly when you're an athlete, when your athleticism is literally what your career hinges on. You get paid based on your performance. But when you're literally incapable of performing because you're injured, that fucks with your mind. It fucks with your career. It fucks with your future. Because your contract depends on the things that you could achieve. And so to see somebody who is literally the youngest MVP ever, it just goes to show you what he could have been had he not suffered these injuries, or if he was able to recover from these injuries and not constantly keep going down with them. That's why that one game that Derrick Rose had when he was playing with the Grizzlies, when he scored his career high, he broke down and cried because he didn't know if he was even able to accomplish that sort of feat. Played great from top to bottom, which goes to show he is capable of doing that. So it's not necessarily the fact of whether or not he has the skills or the talent. It's just the availability to be there, to be out there to do it. So that's one of the things about real life that's just unfortunate, right? The fact that human genetics is not necessarily fair. And I bring this topic up because I wanted to touch on a larger aspect, right? Just yesterday, we were in the Discord, where we will be after the live as always. We were watching this video by this one channel I like called Special Books for Special Kids. One of my favorite channels on YouTube. But it's devastating because you see all these people, all these kids that are born with these rare genetic disorders that make them completely stand out from the crowd because these disorders are so horrible. These rare diseases make it so that these kids, half the time, they're not even, you don't even know if they're even all there. Like, it's difficult to imagine what life must be like, what's going through their mind, what their perception is like. Whereas you have others who have a perception, but they're suffering from some disorder, some psychological disorder, some genetic, physiological disorder that hinders their mobility or hinders their ability to think properly, and it makes it life difficult because it's hard for them to actually, get to be a part of society in a tangible, meaningful way. Because they're mentally or physically incapable of performing various tasks. So a lot of these people need round-the-clock care. Some of these people will never, ever be able to get any real position in life because they're so fucked up. Straight up fucked up. And we don't see these people every day. We don't see these people on a constant basis, right? We don't see media coverage of these different things. We don't see mainstream media talking about all these things and all the different things that can help us to try to fix these things or to prevent these things from happening. We don't even talk about it. We don't even talk about it. We talk about NBA players. We talk about the NBA. We talk about sports. Sports gets huge amounts of coverage. Athletes get huge contracts. Their salaries are absurd. Hundreds of millions of dollars some athletes are making. Jason Tatum of the Boston Celtics just signed the biggest contract in NBA history. 300 some odd million for what, 5 years? And the contracts are only going up and up and up and up and up. But see, the thing is, one of the most devastating things about sports is the fact that athletes suffer injuries. And a lot of times, they suffer injuries at the most inopportune times. So, a couple years ago, the Boston Celtics were in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Miami Heat. They went down 0-3 in the best-of-7 series. No team has ever come back from an 0-3 deficit. The Boston Celtics were on their way to potentially making that happen, and yet what happened? First play of the game in Game 7. Jason Tatum fucking breaks his ankle or twists his ankle, and that was the game right there. First play of the game. First play of the game. Hurts his ankle, and that was it for the Boston Celtics. So then they were just going through the motions. We have seen this occur so many times. And the reason why it's devastating is because when us fans of sports, we want to see the best of the best go against each other. We want to see which team is the better team. This team healthy versus that team healthy, and we just want to see good basketball. One of the worst things you could ever see is a team lose, not because they just weren't good enough, but because injuries to their best players or some of their most important players ruined their ability to achieve their maximum potential. Modern medicine has just not reached a point where we can prevent these injuries from even happening. In fact, in recent years, we've seen more and more players get injured more and more. However, because of modern medicine, we've seen players' careers last longer. We're seeing now more people starting to last for 20 some odd years. We're seeing more people who are able to bounce back from potentially devastating injuries. Previously career-ending injuries as a result of modern medicine. So the question is, why is it that the Lord doesn't help that happen at all? How come we see all these players, like we've said before, after every championship, the champions always talking about, I give thanks to God because he allowed us to win. But what about the losing team? That's just God's will. It was God's will that Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson suffered devastating injuries that ruined the Warriors' ability to beat the Toronto Raptors. It was God's will that James Harden and Kyrie Irving suffered injuries during the Brooklyn Nets playoff run where they lost to the freaking the Bucks, the Milwaukee Bucks a few years ago, when the first two games the freaking Nets were smacking the Bucks. I mean, destroying them. The year the Bucks won the championship, if these injuries hadn't happened, the Bucks would have got swept. They were getting fucked up. They were getting destroyed. However, at the same time, if you're a Bucks fan, you're happy as hell that happened. You are ecstatic that that happened. Because had that not happened, your team might not have won that championship. Which is the strange thing about injuries. We never want to see anybody get injured for any reason. In sports or in real life. Because injuries suck. They suck. They hurt like hell. And recovery is a bitch. It straight up sucks. It's really difficult dealing with recovery, dealing with rehab, going through it all the time, especially the first time you go through an injury, like a real injury, a break, a tear. It's a nightmarish process. I know, because I've been injured. I have an injury right now. Especially leg injuries. Oh my God. The worst pain I felt in my life. I broke my leg. Hope you never have to deal with shit like that. It really, really sucks. And so what I'm saying is we've seen these injuries countless times ruin people's careers or seriously impact people's careers. There are some players who've been able to recover, but they're just never the same. You talking about to me? Fell down the stairs. Well, that was the first time. Fell down the stairs. Second time, months later, I was in gym class and a ball hit my leg right where the break had happened the first time. And I guess it didn't heal properly, so it reopened the break. So yeah, the second time wasn't so bad. It sucked. It was swelling. The first time, literally the worst pain. I cried. It hurt that bad. It was horrible. Horrible. So, especially for athletes, because they rely on their body, specifically their legs, because you gotta run, hop, skip, jump, do all that. So injuries are especially devastating to athletes because they need their bodies. They need their bodies in order to make their living and to establish themselves as great players. As a Bulls fan, when I talked about Lonzo Ball, our then starting point guard, getting injured, we were on our way to being one of the best teams in the NBA. We were number one for several weeks. And then Lonzo got injured, and then other people got injured, and then caught COVID on top of that. Everybody was catching COVID. Everybody on the team caught COVID. Freaking Stacey King, the announcer, caught COVID. Everybody was getting COVID. And yet, Lonzo was the only one who couldn't come back, and our team was never the same after that. It's been a disaster the past couple years for us Bulls fans. All because one guy, our starting point guard, couldn't come back. So the chemistry was always funky. Our half-court offense was so difficult. because we lack our starting point guard. So everybody's trying to play ISO ball, hero ball, and we just could not get a good offense. So even though we had, a good three-point shooting percentage, we were the lowest in attempts because we didn't have a point guard who could set up all of our team players. Thank you. Appreciate that. And so, these are things that we've seen happen on a constant basis. There's so many factors that go into how great teams can be. And it becomes so difficult for people to have an objective view because we're fans. We're so in it. What up, what up, what up, Big Mike? What's good, what's good, what's good? Yeah, so I'm just talking about how Derrick Rose retired today. And as a Chicagoan, as a Bulls homer, kind of feel like I should talk about it, but then talk about the fact that his career was just riddled with injury after injury after injury. There's a picture. Let me see if I can find it. That just shows you just his entire injury history. It's the saddest thing in the world. Because the dude has been injured so many times. And this is an older picture. This doesn't even count everything that's happened to him since then. See if I could blow it up. Or not. Alright, let me see if there's a... Alright, check this out. God damn it. Can't tell if y'all can see that. Man, this shit is whack. Not as often as I should. There's not a whole lot. Anyway, here. All these different fucking injuries that he suffered. 237 games missed at this time. So this is going up to 2014. All these different fucking injuries. And this is just while he was a Bull. This doesn't count everything after that when he was on the Cavaliers, when he was a New York Knickerbocker. Yeah, he did. He said he was going to leave the country and just leave the NBA. Because all the injuries mounted up and he, you know what I'm saying? Like, it gets difficult. You feel what I'm saying? Like, it gets super difficult to want to continue going on when every single other game you getting injured. You got to miss time. You got to be on crutches. You got to have a walking boot. And you can't be the you that you want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like, the dude... you know what I'm saying? Like, one of the most athletic people ever. Super fast. Like I said, he can contort his body, get off these crazy layups. You know what I'm saying? Cross people up and everything. Dunking on fools. And yet, couldn't reach his full potential because he just kept getting injured. Just could not stay on the floor. And like I said, we've seen this happen with so many athletes. There's no telling what he could have accomplished had he not suffered these injuries. The youngest MVP ever. He probably could have rattled off a bunch of MVPs. Hell, the year after he won his MVP is when he started getting injuries up until that first game against the Sixers in the playoffs when he suffered that freak injury. And a lot of people are like, oh, you know, the coach Tom Thibodeau should have took him out. And on one hand, of course, we, you know, in hindsight, yeah. But you're not expecting somebody to tear an ACL off of a non-contact injury. And since then, we've seen that happen to a lot of players. Kawhi Leonard, right? The dude has not been able to play. Hell, when he won his championship with the Raptors, you could tell he was playing on one leg. He was limping like crazy. It's honestly amazing he was able to win that championship. But it took major injuries to other teams. Yo, what are you talking about, bro? Why are you even asking me that? Why the fuck would I need a mad tutor for? And what the hell does that have to do with what I'm talking about? Was your account hacked or some shit? No, dude, I was on the mad team. The fuck would I need a math tutor for? I was like on the team of math. Well, good luck with that. I don't know why you're talking to me about that. Cool. Good luck. Don't know what that has to do with what I'm talking about, but whatever. The fact of the matter is, the human body is a crazy thing, right? There's no telling what could happen to anybody. We've seen some of the most tip-top in-shape athletes suffer devastating injuries or devastating health effects on a constant basis. We've seen athletes literally lose their lives on the court. People who are in way better shape than I've ever been literally die because of some health issue. And I'm not athletic at all. I ain't even gonna stunt. I'm lazy as hell. I need to get on my shit. But it always devastated. I'm always devastated when I see athletes lose their lives as a result of some freakish health condition that you would think that with the best medical professionals out there that they would okay. You would think that with the best medical professionals that they'd be able to detect these type of conditions. And yet, these things go under the radar. And these people will be in way better shape than me, take care of their health in way better ways than I do. Especially, it's even worse to me when some of these people are younger than me. It's the saddest shit in the world. Because I'm not the healthiest dude in the world. I don't have the healthiest practices. I don't have the best diet. Cool, bro. Good luck with that. Yeah, so we see a lot of people suffer from various conditions, injuries, and it's freakish. Like, you never know what can happen when. There's no telling. Like, you could just be walking down the street and just step wrong and tear some shit up, hurt yourself. And there's no real rhyme or reason as to why these things happen. You could be lifting something, you just lift it wrong, and it tears something in your back, pulls something in your back. And even some of the greatest athletes among us, some of the fittest people among us, their fitness does not guarantee longevity. It doesn't guarantee a long career. It doesn't guarantee that they'll reach some goal or potential. We see it happen all the time. right? People who train for marathons or who train for certain physical feats. And we're talking about people training, like doing the work so that they can accomplish this goal, but they don't make it. They might pass out along the way, suffer from dehydration, or some other issue, enlarged hearts. I don't know, go to brilliant.org or some shit. I don't fucking know, man. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, that's why I'm an extropist, right? An extropist is somebody who wants to improve upon the human body. Because leaving it up to God is not the right way to go. Because leaving it up to God means that you're pretty much subject to whatever happens. You suffer from some injury or you suffer from some condition, and that's just what it is. But with modern medicine, we can actually figure out how to improve upon the human body. We can actually figure out how we can prevent these injuries, how we can prevent these conditions, or how we can cure these conditions. Yeah, fam, I feel you on that. Fam. Like, when I suffered my latest injury, I think it's a meniscus tear, I started wearing these compression knee sleeves, right? Because it helped me to recover. But then I started having these back issues. Like, and same shit. I couldn't stand for a long time. Yeah. You probably do. Yeah, that sucks too. And then that's another thing, right? Because when you're a regular person and you suffer these kinds of injuries, you can't just go and get surgery. Because surgery is expensive as hell. Healthcare may or may not cover a lot of the costs. And then you got to take time off. And if you're not just super rich like that, a lot of times you can't afford to just, take that time off. And that's one of the things about being a human being in the modern age. Not only can we get exactly stuff like that, a lot of the medicine is still in its infancy. There's still so much about the human body to learn, especially dealing with things like nerve damage and stuff like that. That's one of the reasons why you see a lot of people suffer from addictions to various illicit substances to help them deal with and cope with the pain that comes from whatever injury or condition that they suffer from. Especially people who've been in the military. People who suffer crazy injuries from getting shot or, freaking an IED or something like that. It's one of the reasons why we see so much suicide from former military vets. Exactly. And that's another aspect of injuries. Because when you get injured and you're not able to get it taken care of, you start to rely on other parts of the body. You can't move right. And then it just fucks up your posture or fucks up other parts of the body. It makes it so that you can't even move right. And we live in this time where we don't put enough funding, literally insult to injury facts. So we don't put enough funding into trying to understand the human body, trying to improve upon the human body so that we can actually, live better, healthier lives. Right? We spend so much money on our military that does the opposite, that devastate people, that is probably the leading contributor of climate change with all the emissions from all the different weapons that they use and deploy on a constant basis. There's so much to the human body that we still need to figure out in order to improve upon it, such that we can actually live great lives. And that's another thing about athletes, because they put so much wear and tear on their bodies throughout their careers. Even if you discount the injuries, just from running and jumping, hopping and skipping and dunking all the time, that does a lot of wear and tear in and of itself, to the point where you can see, retired athletes have all kinds of aches and pains and injuries that they end up having to deal with post-career. And like I said, that doesn't even count the injuries that they suffered throughout their entire careers. Yeah, and that's crazy, because there's still a lot that we don't know about a lot of these different supplements, medicines, and what have you. And a lot of times they can have all sorts of inadvertent effects on the human body. And there's still so much substance abuse now, because so many people are dealing with so many pains. And most people don't even be realizing it half the time. Pain is one of those things that's hard to quantify and understand. Yeah. So that's the thing about the modern age, right? That's the thing about modern science, because as a result of biology and material science and chemistry and now quantum computing, we can start to actually figure out better methods, better treatment methods, better surgical practices for how we can improve upon people's health. So it's a give and take, you know what I'm saying? Because on one hand, even though we're seeing people suffer all types of injuries and get addicted to all types of substances, at the same time, we do see people who are able to live longer, who are able to get better treatment methods. Injuries that used to be devastating are now not quite as devastating. People are able to recover faster nowadays. People are able to, not have their careers ended as a result of certain injuries. But there's still the issue of addiction. There's still the issue of recovery. There's still the issue of not being able to return to form. A lot of the times, like I said, people suffer injuries and they're never the same after that. They can never reach that peak athleticism that they once had. Derrick Rose is one of those people, because his body just could not hold up to the rigors of the NBA. Which is another reason why they get paid the big bucks, because they subject themselves to injuries all the time. Conversely, you'll see somebody like a Mikal Bridges, an Iron Man, who's able to play 82 games a season. A lot of players these days rarely can do that. Which is one of the reasons why Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, of course. Team Jordan. All day, Team Jordan, baby, Jordan, all day, air, baby. That's what it's all about, because the dude was able to play 82 games a season for multiple seasons. Or 81, 80 games, 79 games, which is unheard of these days. And that's one of the factors of what makes players great, because we see a lot of players who have a lot of talent, but at the same time, like they say, the greatest of ability is availability. Can't be great if you can't get on the court. And that's the thing, like, that's what separates the good players from the great players. And it's one of those unfortunate aspects of sports, one of those unfortunate aspects of life. That's why life is crazy, right? We see people all the time who, are born and then they can live long, super long lives. They don't have to be the healthiest people in the world. And then you can see some of the people who are super dumb healthy who don't live long lives. You see children who are born with these crazy disorders. You see stillbirths. You see miscarriages all the time. Babies that die from SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. that just pretty much died for no reason. All sorts of horrible things that we can't fully figure out, that we can't fully qualify or quantify, because there's still so much about the human body that we have to learn and discover. That's one of the reasons why I'm such a staunch atheist and anti-theist. Because praying to the Lord does not help you recover at all. It doesn't prevent any of these injuries from happening. You can pray and pray all you want. It's not going to stop the laws of physics. It's not. Like I said earlier, Derrick Rose suffered a freak injury. Who knew that he was going to tear his ACL getting ready to jump? Like I said, he didn't hit anybody. He didn't land wrong, any of that shit. It just happened. Freak shit. No real explanation as to why the laws of physics said that when he took that hop step, that his knee was just going to buckle like that. We've seen that happen all the time. We saw it happen to Kawhi Leonard when he was with the Clippers. That year when the Clippers reached their first conference finals after 50 years. In that game where they won, I do believe it was against the Jazz. Took a bump and then just stepped wrong, and that was it for his ACL. Or Jamal Murray, when he tore his ACL, he just stepped wrong and his shit just buckled. There's no rhyme or reason as to why exactly this shit happens. It's just shit luck. Shit luck. You don't have to be running and jumping and do all these feats and land wrong. It just happens. It just happens. For a lot of these people, it just happens. Like when Paul George suffered that devastating leg injury, he landed wrong. His leg just so happened to hit the stanchion at that right angle, right at the corner, and his leg just snapped. Just snapped. Clean break. Ugly. Ugly injury. People didn't think he would come back. It could have been career ending. Fortunately, it was not. But even he himself said, oh yeah, I lost some athleticism because of that. I wasn't the same after that. So even now when people say, oh, Paul George, he chokes and this, that, and the third, that's easy to say, sitting on your couch, watching the game. But people don't see the amount of work that he puts into his career, that he puts into building his skill set and working on his athleticism. The things he had to do just to recover from that injury. And we see these things happen all the time. It's the most unfortunate thing because there's always a what if. What if that never happened? How great could these players have been if they never suffered these crazy injuries? Imagine a world where you're watching whatever sport you're watching, football, basketball, soccer, and nobody ever had to suffer injuries. The amount of great games we watch, the amount of athleticism and skills that we be seeing, teams at their peak, at their best, going at it to see who is the better team. And instead of it boiling down to who's healthier, it can just boil down to who can execute in crunch time, who can execute at the right time, who can pull it off, who can make the right decisions. It really sucks when you see it happen as a result of somebody going down. Somebody stepped on somebody's foot. Somebody did a layup and came down wrong. Somebody tried to dunk and then fucking hurt their knee. It would be so amazing if we can figure out how we can prevent these things from happening, how we can ensure players can recover way faster. That's why it's so important, the scientific method, to invest so much into the scientific method, because with the scientific method, with innovation, with new medicines, we can figure out exactly how we can prevent these things. We can figure out how we can allow people to recover faster. Things like nanotechnology could probably help with that. New medicines based on quantum computing could probably help people recover without gaining addictions and what have you. Developing new medicines that can be tailored to that specific person, that also don't have other kinds of side effects that harm their health. That's why I'm such a staunch supporter of science. That's why I'm an extropist. That's why I'm a transhumanist. Because we should be working on how we can improve our health and our wellness. That is what matters above all. That's why I talk about how a third of Americans are suffering from north of $10,000 worth of medical debt. Because medicine is expensive. Treatments are expensive as hell, because there's still so much to learn about the human body, the environment, all these things that impact our health on a constant basis. We as people should want to live long, healthy lives, pain-free as much as possible. That should be one of our aims, to enjoy life as long as we're here, as much as we possibly can, because we have no idea when our time is coming. No idea. We see people suffer from all kinds of injuries, accidents. You know what I'm saying? People get beat up and all sorts of stuff that happens. We see, people miraculously bounce back. People getting harmed within an inch of their life and they're able to recover as a result of modern medicine. People always want to praise Jesus, praise the Lord Jesus when somebody heals, while they're in the hospital being treated, getting round-the-clock coverage from professionals who took years of their life to learn and practice medicine so that they can get into the field and be professionals at it. If you left it up to chance, who knows how many people would have lost their lives or how much pain people would be dealing with if we didn't have modern medicine, if we didn't have the medical industry, if we didn't have people going to school and learning as much as they could about anatomy and medical services, medical science, biomedical science, all that shit. My homie Joey P right now is working in the medical field. Shout out to Joey P. Make sure you check out his music on all streaming platforms as well. You can also find it in the Discord under the OD9 Music tab, where we will be heading after this live. I'm going to take a little break, and we're going to be kicking it like we always do. You know how we do. But no, the fact of the matter is, the human body is one of the most complex, peculiar environments and ecosystems in the world. We're not just a giant organism. We're an ecosystem of various organisms. Cells upon cells, freaking all kinds of particles and microscopic organisms working within the human body. We don't have ourselves figured out. We don't even know where the hell we come from, how we came to be. We're still learning about our origins. And there's still so much to discover. And yet we still have so many among us that believe that, well, we came from God. God created us. Because Learning about the human body is hard. Learning human anatomy is difficult. It is. It is. It's hard. It's hard. Science is hard. Innovation is hard. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. That's why the James Webb Space Telescope has so many cost overruns, because as a result of, different mishaps happening, developments in material science, all that, it took much longer and it costed way more than people thought it would take. They had to invent all sorts of new things just to create it. And the same is true with trying to understand the human body. It requires tons of investment, tons of people working around the clock, learning different aspects of reality, learning different aspects of the human body and the laws of physics, so that we can innovate these different treatments and innovations to improve upon the human body. That's why it's so sad, so fucking sad to see all these great athletes suffer from all these different injuries. And even notable people throughout history, presidents, celebrities who've lost their lives, who've suffered various different health conditions. You know what I'm saying? People like Michael J. Fox suffering Parkinson's disease, Bruce Willis suffering from whatever condition he's suffering from, the looking it up right now, frontotemporal dementia that's ruined his ability to act anymore. Like, it's so sad when you see people you grew up with, who you idolize, who you respected, who you're fans of, suffer these different types of health conditions that ruin their ability to do what they do best. And that medicine has not advanced enough to be able to properly treat them and allow them to recover. So yeah. So going back to Derrick Rose, man, like, it's just really sad seeing how his career turned out, because he's from here, he's from the town, not far from where I live, right here. And, he had so much potential. He gave our city hope. We wanted to see him come back. We wanted to see him retire here as a Bull. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. But he's one of the biggest what-ifs in sports history. The youngest MVP in NBA history to date. Who knows what he could have become? Who knows what he could have accomplished? Easily could have become a champion if he just didn't suffer these injuries. Could have definitely brought us, our Bulls, to glory once again. Like I said, the year he got injured, we were the 1 seed. I think we won 60 games or something like that. Don't quote me. Matter of fact, I'll look it up. $50 games. Because it was a lockout, right? We won 50 games, and then we didn't even get to see how far we could have gotten, because we lost in the first round because he got injured. Ain't no telling what the Bulls could have accomplished. And we've seen this happen for so many teams in the NBA, having many of their important players or even their star player get injured at an inopportune time. And it just really sucks for all the peoples involved, all the fans, all the teams, and especially to the player that suffers the injury. So, salute to Derrick Rose for, never giving up, for never just quitting and being like, fuck this. He got back up, he pushed himself hard, and kept dealing with all of this shit, kept battling through all these injuries. No matter what, he kept pushing through. He was on freaking My Expert Opinion. Shout out to Matt Hoffa. You can check out that interview on YouTube where he talks about how he almost quit. He was gonna take his girl and flee to Mexico or something like that. But he still came back. Still came back. And you gotta respect that. Because there's no telling how devastating it is to have your career riddled with injuries and to keep having to deal with that, having to suffer setback after setback after setback. It's too easy to give up. The pain itself, the pain, the literal physical pain, the physiological pain that comes with getting injured, then the emotional and mental pain of A, getting injured again, B, knowing you gotta recover, and C, not knowing how this is gonna affect your life and your career. Because Derrick Rose even said to himself, like, he was taking precautions because he wanted to be able to walk his son down the aisle during graduation, something like that. He wanted to be able to walk and stand during his kid's graduation because he's looking at the future. He's looking forward at the fact that, like, you keep suffering these injuries, those injuries pile up. So it's easy for us to look while they're on the court and be like, oh man, that really sucks. But people don't understand what these people deal with outside of basketball, outside of 94 feet. It's devastating to have to constantly suffer injury after injury after injury and keep having to battle back and to miss so many games, to have your contracts negotiations hindered because you can't be the same you once were. The potential earnings that are lost now as a result of all these injuries. So even though he is financially secure, got that great contract with Adidas, not to mention the money he was able to make throughout his career, there's always going to be that what if of what he could have been, what he could have accomplished. Could have been one of the best ever. Who knows? Maybe he could have even been the GOAT. Who knows? But we'll never know. We'll never know because of everything we discussed today. So, this is the end of an era. This is the end of an era. I really wish we could have seen Derrick Rose reach his potential, but, you know, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles, and life is unfair as fuck. Unfair as hell. Some people, you know, never suffer major injuries. Some people can go through life and they're good. They don't suffer major injuries. They don't suffer any real pain of any kind. You know, other than the usual, you know, getting sick and, you know, oh, I stubbed my toe or something. And then you have people who suffer devastating injuries. People losing limbs. You know what I'm saying? Like, or you know, getting shot and having to undergo real, like, surgery. Emergency surgery. The yo, the shit that came across my phone right now, yo. Oh my god. Yo, they said that there's a video of Diddy. The Diddler, they said that he slapped Jay-Z on the butt. I was thinking about talking about Diddy today, honestly. But then I saw the news of Derrick Rose retiring. I'm just like, I have to talk about that as a Chicagoan. Because obviously he's from the town. He was on my team. He was the guy. He was the guy on my team. I mean, not really, though. I mean, people say that. Jimmy Butler seems to be doing all right. Jimmy Butler seems to be doing fine. I mean, he's suffered his fair share of injuries too, which is terrible. But I mean, yeah, word, what's good? What's good, Phil? Why'd you leave the group the other day, fam? I saw you was in the chat and then you left. I was gonna come right back and you just dipped. What the fuck, bro? Nah, it's all good. But no, it's like you see different people react differently. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you didn't. That's why I didn't want to watch it. That's why I didn't watch it. Fuck that dude. I mean, I don't have a problem with profanity, to be honest. I just don't fuck with dude. I don't fuck with weirdos. Yeah. Yeah, he's a shell of his former self. You know, it's kind of what happens when you mess with kids, mess with young adults, minors, I should say, and then you get exposed and then you don't take accountability for your actions. But he always came off as a weirdo to me anyway. But I mean, like, so back to what I was saying, sports is super rigorous. It's rigorous. It's easy to talk about how terrible somebody is, saying somebody's a bust, or saying somebody's, not good enough, or disappointing, or whatever, soft, or what have you. But athletics is fucking hard. It's hard as hell. If it were easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would be a top tier athlete. That's one of the reasons why they get paid the big bucks, because they put their bodies through the rigors of getting in shape and then doing all of the fucking athletic feats that they do on the court or on the field, whatever sport they play. And they subject themselves to injuries. They subject themselves to pain beyond what most people will ever experience. Devastating, career-altering, life-altering injuries and situations. And some people just can't hold up. Some people's bodies just can't hold up. And it sucks. It just plain sucks. We just saw that happen with the Knicks this past postseason, where all these players just went down with injuries. Meanwhile, you see other players that don't have no problems. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't see Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown suffer any major injuries like that. Matter of fact, the whole Eastern Conference was riddled with injuries. The whole Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics had probably the easiest walk to the championship we ever seen. Other than like those super great teams. But even then, those great teams, like say the Lakers of the early 2000s or the Bulls of the 90s, they faced teams at their best. For the most part. But this past year, so many teams were injured. My Bulls have been injured this whole time, like I said, with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's just now coming back, and we can't tell how good he's going to be when he does get back. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, we got as far as the Eastern Conference Finals, and then, after that, probably could have made another conference finals if Derrick Rose didn't suffer that injury. And then, like I said, 2.5 years ago, we were number one in the East for 35 games, or for most of 35 games, only to see freaking Lonzo Ball go down. Lonzo went down, Zach went down, Caruso went down, then everybody got fucking COVID, Everybody got COVID. I mean, the whole team. And like I said, even Stacey King, the announcer, got COVID. COVID just ravaged through the whole league. But really, our team, they ravaged our team. But everybody was able to come back except Lonzo Ball. And so the last 2 years have been fucking funky because the chemistry wasn't there because we were missing our starting point guard. So that's another what if. Oh, I forgot to mention going back to the 2000s. We drafted Jay Williams. His career got sabotaged by a freak injury, a motorcycle accident. That, who knows what could have happened with us if that hadn't happened. You feel what I'm saying? We've seen these things happen throughout the years, countless times, with countless teams, crazy things happening. And there's no telling what could have been for so many teams throughout the years if certain players didn't suffer these crazy injuries or these devastating health conditions that ruined their careers, that straight up ruined their careers or gave them massive setbacks. It's one of the most unfortunate aspects of sports that we can't just watch players just be great. That we can't just see, okay, this team is better than that team because, you know, they just are better. No, we see so many times, oh, so-and-so went down and so-and-so went down. So-and-so's going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. This player's going to be out for 6 to 8 months. Yeah, Jordan got hurt that one time. That one time. Came back and was the greatest ever again. Still, because, you know, GOAT shit. You know what I'm saying? He missed that whole, his sophomore season. Missed damn near the whole year with the ankle injury. Came back. Motherfuckers like, hey, Jordan, just sit. You know what I'm saying? You might as well just chalk it up. The season's over. Jordan's like, I wish I might. I wish I might. Hell no, we ain't with none of that tanking shit. I'm going to come back and we going to kick some ass no matter what. Came back, dragged us to the playoffs and had one of the greatest performances we ever seen. In fact, a career high in points in a game, a record that still stands today against the Boston Celtics. What was it, like 63 points in the game? But what I was saying earlier was that Jordan had so many seasons where he played 82 games, 81 games, 80 games, 79 games. Something we rarely see anymore. And this is one of the things that separates the good from the great. Because we see a lot of good players who could have been great had they not suffered all these different injuries and had their careers altered by injuries. But you have these rare players, players like Jordan, players like LeBron, who they've just been able to last. Exactly. They had to make a rule where you can't even win any of these major awards if you don't play at least, 65 games or something like that? So even if you play 50 great, fantastic MVP level games, if you don't reach 65 games, sorry, you can't be MVP. And it's understandable because, you know, people who pay for their tickets or who pay for their sports package, they want to watch their favorite players play the game, right? But as we stated earlier, so many of these players suffer all these different health effects that hinder their ability to play. So there's been this whole controversy over load management where they say players are sitting out games, but really it's imposed by the team to try to preserve their players because we have such an issue with longevity now as a result of so many injuries that teams are taking the time to say, okay, you got to sit some of these games, you can't play back-to-backs and all these different things because we don't want to risk you getting injured because so many people are playing injured. The only problem is they say that it's actually counterintuitive because the rest might actually be helping to cause the problems. that maybe they need to be trying to play as many games as they can so that they can build the resistance, so they can build the strength to withstand the rigors of an NBA season. But as I said, there's still so much to learn about the human body and the environment and, you know, all these different sciences so that we can really improve upon human health and improve sports in general. It's just unfortunate, man. Like, it really sucks that it's so difficult nowadays for players to reach 60 games. I mean, yeah, to reach 60 games, let alone 82. Especially because now people are faster. They're jumping higher. You know, they're crazy athletic nowadays. Like, you see these players like Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, you know what I'm saying, Anthony Edwards, that could jump out the fucking gym. I'm talking about these dudes is just freak athletes. Freak. It's amazing that, you know, we've seen Zion. Yeah, exactly. Freaking Kawhi. The news came out the other day that he just got another knee surgery. Which is probably why he didn't play in the Olympics. In fact, they were talking on Gil's Arena the other day that there's a video of Kawhi walking into the training facility or whatever. They say he looked like he was limping in. His career has been riddled with injuries. He's just had better luck than a lot of these other players because he's been on great teams. As a matter of fact, check this out. And I always tell people this. The year the Raptors won the championship, people talk about how great Kawhi was, and he was solid. He had a great postseason run. But the question is this. Let's say that trade never happened and DeMar was still there. Could DeMar have won that championship with them? Because the Toronto Raptors, their biggest hurdle was LeBron James. And then LeBron James switched conferences, right? Went to the Lakers, where he currently is at. If DeMar DeRozan had stayed with the Raptors, could they have won the championship that year? We'll never know. DeMar DeRozan has been a more of an Iron Man than Kawhi Leonard has. So, I mean, not to say, you know, I mean, I think most people agree that Kawhi Leonard is a better player overall, just head to head. But if DeMar had stayed with the Raptors, they probably could have still won the championship that year. They were number one the past, what, the year before? Number one. Like I said, the biggest hurdle was dealing with good old LeBron James. So, it's just crazy, like how some people's, you know, bodies just can't measure up. And not only that, but then there's still issues with medicine and medical professionals and practitioners, you know what I'm saying, misdiagnosing certain things or not performing the best treatment methods and stuff like that. Seeing so many players get their careers ended as a result. People like Grant Hill, you know what I'm saying, he documents his journey throughout his career when he was with the Magic, and all these players that have dealt with all these injuries. Like it's messed up. It's messed up. He might have. I mean, he played solid with my Bulls, even though doesn't like to shoot threes, plays super slow. You know what I'm saying? But like, he was solid, is solid. Good luck to him out in Sacramento, for real. But I can't lie, I'm glad that he's gone though, because I do think he was kind of stunting the growth of some of the young guys. But he is very solid. I do think he could have won that year, but it's just one of those things where there's so many factors, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, you know. But you know, Modern medicine still has a long way to go. And it's crazy to know that there's so much improvement that can happen, that will happen. As I've stated earlier, we got nanotechnology on the way, still in this infancy, barely in this infancy. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's gene editing. And this is a topic I definitely want to touch on at some point in the future. I mean, I've touched on it before, but you know, gene editing in sports. How far do we go with that? Right? Like, because if we're able to enhance our abilities, if we're able to enhance our health and the strength of our bones and stuff like that, is it possible that we could eradicate injuries altogether, making our bones crazy strong? And what kind of effects could that have on our mental? What kind of side effects could that lead to? Could we completely, you know, alter our bone chemistry? Or maybe even replace our natural bones with, I don't know, titanium alloys or some shit. How far do we go? Does it give people an undue advantage, or does it lower the play? I mean, does it even the playing field? How will sports be impacted if we can ensure everyone had perfect health? Should we allow nanobots? Should we allow gene editing? Would that be considered fucking like steroids? You know what I mean? Like, what do we do with that? Should these sports leagues invest in these innovations and technologies and make them available for all athletes? Because if their goal is to ensure player safety, player health, then wouldn't it be in their best interest to invest in these innovations, things like stem cell treatments, like we said, CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing, nanobots, and whatever the hell else, maybe even brain computer interfaces in some cases? Or should we just leave it up to the Lord and just whoever can stay healthy, they just stay healthy? And if you were planning to watch Kawhi Leonard for this season, well, good luck to you. Well, yeah, exactly. And that's another thing. That's a good point, Phil. That's a great point. Upgrades. Let's say nanobots, it becomes a thing and it starts to roll out. Right? Now, let's say there's all these different brands of nanobots, and this nanobot is better than that nanobot, but then this nanobot gets upgraded, so then it becomes better than that nanobot, and so on and so forth. Or what if they develop a new gene editing technique where only certain people get access to this treatment versus that treatment? Only some people are able, because I mean, think about it. You got what, 400 some odd NBA players. How is everybody going to get a nano upgrade in enough time? Unless they're able to roll it out with everybody. What would the surgical procedure be like? What would the upgrade procedure be like? Would everybody have the same access? Because even right now, not every athlete has the same amount of money to get the same amount of treatments. Not everybody can just go to Germany and get that crazy blood cleaning technique that Kobe Bryant would get. So what about now with new innovations happening? Who's able to get access to what? And would it be considered unfair if everybody doesn't get the same access to the same techniques, the same innovations, or the same upgrades and what have you? How do we ensure fairness in the game with new technologies and new innovations that come out? Because it's going to happen. 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 It's These technologies are being developed right now. These innovations are being developed right now. We've talked about CRISPR before. We've talked about nanotechnology before. We've talked about quantum computing and the potential impact of that. And I don't think we even really realized how far-reaching the impact of quantum computing could be once it becomes a thing, once it gets established. The amount of discoveries, the amount of innovations that could come about as a result. When we talk about the technological singularity, these are some of the things that are going to help push that along. And these are technologies that are being developed right now. Right fucking now. We got Google and IBM and, all these different startups that are working on just that very thing right now. And there's no telling how that's going to impact various sectors of the planet, particularly in sports, where athleticism is the name of the game. We already seen the impact of steroids. We already seen people make records, break records as a result of steroid enhancement. Indeed, the best system would be something that could always improve itself. But the question is, who gets access to that? How does it get rolled out? How does that get implemented? How does that get disseminated? See, this is one of the things that I've talked about in the past, and I'm definitely going to talk about in the future more. The fact that, because we live in this hyper-capitalist, plutocratic, oligarchical, kakistocratic, kleptocratic, gerontocratic, theocratic, techno-feudalist corporatocracy, the people that gain access to all the best things are always going to be the rich, the banks, the corporations, and those in the know. Politicians, celebrities, athletes, stuff like that, as opposed to the layperson. Because those are the ones that have the access. Those are the ones that have the resources to gain access to these things. And that's going to be a potentially huge issue if we don't get a handle on our society. The fact that we already have the haves and have-nots. We've already talked about how we have wealth inequality worse than pretty much ever before. Ever in history. Right now. So that's wealth inequality. That's not counting a potential rift in health inequality. Health inequality. When we have all these different innovations that are happening, the rich and the people with connections are the ones that are going to have first dibs. Whether we're talking about cures for various conditions, enhancements, whatever the case may be. And if that happens in this type of society, that could lead to worsening conditions for the rest of us. Because it's bad enough the wealth inequality, but to have health inequality too. So not only can these people lord over us, just in terms of the fact that they have all the money, but then they can last longer than us. They can heal faster than us as well. They can enhance themselves and improve their intelligence, improve their physical capabilities. So we can't even fight them if it came down to it, literally fight them. Because they'll have enhancements that make it impossible for us to fight and beat their ass when they get on some bullshit. We're talking about a potential dystopia beyond anything we could ever imagine. So going back to sports, like anything, there's always going to be a hierarchy. Well, see, people say that there could be a cure for cancer. But as I always say, if that was the case, then why did Steve Jobs die from cancer? He was rich as fuck. Rich as hell. If there were a cure for cancer, wouldn't somebody like him have had it? We're talking about one of the most notable people in all the world. Died from cancer. So if there were a cancer cure, wouldn't he have gotten it? But to your point, eventually there will be a cure for cancer. For sure. And to your point, Phil, who's going to have access to it first? Who's going to get first dibs? Of course, to your point, those who have the connections, those who have the wealth, those who have the access, yes, they will have the first dibs on that for sure. Because I'm pretty sure that the cure for cancer is not going to come cheap. It's not going to just be rolled out by somebody like the dude who developed the TB vaccine who's going to say, I'm going to make it available for everyone. Damn the price. I don't give a fuck how much it costs to make. We're going to make sure everybody with cancer gets this cure so that we can cure everybody. That would be nice. But to expect that in the modern age is absurd. Because everybody's got to get paid. We all got to live. That's why we have to move away from this hyper-capitalist society. Because when you focus everything on the profit motive and you put human health and wellness second to that, well then it's no wonder we have the society we have where we have people suffering from various conditions, health issues, psychological disorders, addictions, traumas, and all that. We pretend like we care about that shit, but in practice, we absolutely don't. We do not. At all. We give our thoughts and prayers every time something happens, and then we just move on. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, let me take out the small loan real quick. You got change for 100? Yeah. Yeah, nanobots. That's what I'm saying. Nanobots are going to be a huge thing. Blood cells, bone marrow, all different aspects. I mean, nanobots could actually maybe help us maintain perfect health. Maybe to a point where you don't even need to work out. I don't know how they all work. But, you know, one thing I know is that, like, when you work out, particularly, like, say when you lift, you're tearing, you know, muscle fibers and then they rebuild and that's how muscles build. But what if nanobots are just doing that internally? You ain't even gotta lift. You're just strong because you can fucking, the nanobots are helping you become strong. Exactly. We got anti-aging companies right now working on that. We could possibly even customize our age or our appearance. Imagine being 24 forever. Well, that would be true in a hyper-capitalist society. That crime would go up. That's why we have to move away from this capitalist society. We have to organize ourselves towards one that's more focused on health and wellness, scientific innovation, where instead of, oh, it's all about how much money you have. Because let's be honest, with all the innovations that are happening with AI and all that type of stuff, it's going to be difficult for people to get work because all the jobs are going to be automated. All the jobs, all of them. AI is only going to continue improving. It's so good they have to handicap it. Well, yeah, but that's because we had a major emergency. That's why COVID was free, because it was a major emergency. It was either they give us the COVID shots for free or our entire society collapses and we just fall into a case of chaos. was an okay example. We could have done so much better. Things could have been so much better with the COVID rollout. In every way, from the way that the pharmaceutical companies developed the vaccines, to the way that people received them, to the way that people refused them, all of that. We have such an erosion of trust in our government. People didn't just flock to the COVID vaccines. And I can understand, because as we talked about before, our government is not the most reliable in the world. We have a history of all kinds of bullshit that our government has done to people. The Tuskegee experiments as an example. Hell yeah, we need that shit. All of the above, fam. But see, again, this is what happens when you have this state of hyper-capitalism. When you have studies by freaking Princeton University showing that our government is mostly affected by the rich, the banks, and the corporations, and not from people. That sucks to hear, fam. But that's what happens when you have this hyper-capitalist government. People don't trust the government. They don't trust pharmaceutical companies. And it's understandable. They earned that. They earned our loss of trust. The things that they've done throughout history. The fact that they're all motivated by the profit motive. That means they have an incentive to ensure that we're sick. Not to mention there's so much bullshit propaganda that's out there that convinces people not to think straight, not to trust these entities in the situation. There's people who still don't believe that COVID's even real. To this day. They believe, or they believe that it was an inside job by Bill Gates. And so, the fact of the matter is, again, we need to become a more scientifically literate populace. We need to be more scientifically literate, but also we need to ensure that the powers that be are trustworthy. Oh, I got mine. I got mine. You know I got mine, baby. Yeah. You know how I do. Keep it on deck. Yeah, I know. A lot of people lost their lives. I've said this before. I'm subscribed to this one subreddit called the Herman Cain Award. For many of you who may not know, Herman Cain was a presidential hopeful. 70-year-old black man. One of the people most vulnerable to COVID, who really thought that he didn't need the vaccine because, you know, Jesus was gonna help him, save him from the COVID. You don't need the vaccine when you got Jesus. Jesus, of course, gonna save you. Well, now you're dead. Congratulations. Rip. Idiot. The hell is your problem? The very group that's the most susceptible to COVID, you, and you gonna be so delusional, you're gonna be like, nah, don't need vaccine, I'm good, got my Jesus, I need my Jesus shot, all I need is my shot from Jesus. But that's the issue. That's the reason why we see these issues that we have on a constant basis. Because so many people want to leave things up to the Lord instead of actually doing the hard work of trying to understand the human body, understand human medicine, so that we can actually ensure that we're doing a good job improving upon the human body, improving upon human health and treatment methods and surgical practices and all these different ways. That's why it's a shame that we have the state that we're in. So many people that are so anti science. They have no care whatsoever in understanding the human body and understanding the scientific method, how they can actually develop better treatments and better fucking cures and what have you. And so, like, so many people lose their lives who don't need to. So many people suffer from various health effects that don't need to. That's why I always talk about Jamie Coots. That's why I talked about him yesterday. Pastor Jamie Coots fucking gets bitten by a rattlesnake or whatever kind of snake it was, refused medical treatment, and then died. Because, oh, he had been bitten before. He didn't die before. So why would he die now? Well, because you keep testing, you keep playing stupid games, you're going to end up winning stupid prizes. That's why I always say, don't keep trying to test the hypothesis. Because you know what the conclusion is going to be eventually. You know what I'm saying? People say, oh, I got shot, but I survived. I'm like, you want to keep testing that? You want to keep testing the Lord? You really think that you're going to keep getting shot and the Lord just going to save you every time? Because if you really think that something is wrong with your brain. Something is really, truly wrong with your brain. Believing in the Lord does not stop you from getting injured, does not stop you from dying. It doesn't. It doesn't. That's why it's pathetic that these things constantly happen. So that's why I wanted to talk about Derrick Rose, because it's like all the Jesus stuff that people talk about didn't help him to have a long, sustained, wonderful, amazing career. He's expressed his Jesus views so much in public, and so have people who are fans all over the world, and yet did none of that stop him from suffering all these injuries and having his career completely derailed by all these injuries. Sometimes life is just unfair. Oh, it's bugging again. It's all good. Like, I'm about to end this soon anyway, because I don't have a whole lot more to say about all this. The fact of the matter is, injuries happen, people get hurt, people lose their lives, people have their careers ended or have their careers destroyed. And if there's a God, God is allowing it to happen. It was God's plan. Well, I have a better plan. My plan is that we actually work together interdependently with synergy to figure out the human body, to figure out our environment so we can manipulate our environment to our collective benefit. That's why I'm a transhumanist. That's why I'm an extropist. That's why I'm an atheist and an anti-theist, because I want to live a long and healthy life. I do not want to suffer any injury ever again. I don't want to suffer from any health issue ever again. And I don't want anybody else to suffer any health issues ever again. I want us to be able to live super duper long, healthy and prosperous lives, pain-free, where we can actually enjoy our lives, where we don't have to suffer from various addictions, where we don't have to need so many different medicines, where we don't have to watch sports and see some athlete get injured and have their career derailed by constant injuries. We want to be able to enjoy sports and watch all these players play at their peak and see teams being great and teams proving that they're better because they're just better, not just because some other team, their rival team, their opponent, suffered a major injury to a major player that ends up completely derailing the whole shit. You feel what I'm saying? That's why I am so pro-science, because it is a result of science that players are lasting longer, that players are recovering faster, that players are having longer careers. See, if this were a couple decades ago, Derrick Rose's career would have been over after that ACL injury. It's amazing he was able to have the career he had considering all the injuries he had. Without modern medicine, he would have long been gone. Somebody like Lonzo Ball right now. Hell, maybe a decade ago, the injuries that he suffered from, his career would have been over. But now he's making his grand return. Fingers crossed. Fingers fucking crossed that he comes back and has a fucking great year and a great career heading forward. And for all the athletes, for that matter. You feel me? That's why we as people, we as Americans, we as human beings need to be focused on science. We need to place value in science because it's only through science and innovation that we're going to improve our lives, improve our lifespans, improve our quality of life. It's not going to happen with praying to Jesus. It's not going to happen with, please, Lord, please, please, please allow us to live. No, it doesn't work that way. My uncles have both died of various, well, all of them have died of various health issues. Prayer didn't help any of them. I've had how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 uncles die of various health issues. 6. I got 1 uncle, 2 uncles left. 1 on my mom's side, 1 on my dad's side. All my other uncles have passed away. Plus my dad as well. Even though my dad didn't even have to die. My dad could have got a pacemaker and could have been living today. But my dad, I think he had bipolar, didn't want to get a fucking pacemaker, refused medical treatment, was like, no, I know my heart. I know my heart. No, my heart good. No, my heart good. I'm sorry, Dad. You're fucking dumb as hell. Dumb as hell. I'm sorry. You did not have to die. You could have got that motherfucking pacemaker. He could still be alive today. But that's what happens when you play stupid games. You win stupid prizes. You refuse medical treatment. You might die. And that's what happens. So rip to my pops. Rip to my uncles and to everybody who's lost their lives as a result of all these different health issues all throughout human history. But we're in a time now where, as Silk said, we could be improving upon the human body, we could be improving upon human health, and we could be making major things happen in the near future. But until that happens, hey, y'all be safe out there. Because the world is crazy. The world is crazy as fuck. So I'm going to cut this short. I know we usually do 3, 4, 20 hours, but there's not a whole lot I can say about this. Other than, you know, hey, Derrick Rose, you had a great career. Thank you for everything you brought us, Chicago Bulls fans. And to us Chicagoans, you made us proud. Even though Jesus ain't real, sorry to break it to you, my guy. The Lord Jesus is not real. He clearly didn't help your ass. And hope the rest of your life is awesome and amazing. Good luck to the rest of your endeavors. Thank you for everything you did. And you will always be a Bulls legend. And I don't care what anybody else has to say. You're a Hall of Famer in my book. So, thank y'all for coming through. This has been another episode of the No Cap Zone where we have a strict dress code. Not get the hell off with that capping ass bullshit. Be sure to check out the Outrageous EP available on all streaming platforms. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Rage Furious Styles Volume 1 mixtape in the Discord, where we will be heading in a little bit. Join the Patreon for $5 a month. Get exclusive access to behind-the-scenes footage, music that's not available out there in the wild, and all the exclusive updates to all the goings-on. And follow me on all my social media pages. Links are available on my page, on my profile here. So just follow everything. And if I don't see you tomorrow, enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace out.